Just very briefly on me, I am a solicitor and I joined PLP in November 2021, and I wasn't actually involved in the EUSS before that. So I know that from seeing the kind of various names here in the various organisations that many of you will have been kind of in the trenches since 2019, as many of my colleagues at PLP were, but I'm relatively new to it all. I have responsibility for coordinating PLP's EUSS hub. I also coordinate we have a hub that sort of runs in parallel, which is a welfare rights hub where we can provide advice on potentially public law issues or complex issues that arise in welfare benefits casework. So that may be of interest to you and some of your colleagues if you're wearing different hats as well. But as I think most of you on this call will know this, but for anyone who's maybe a bit newer like me, PLP has operated the EUSS hub itself since about 2019. So the idea initially was to monitor the rollout and now the operation of the EUSS and all under kind of people's experiences in applying to it, being granted status, and then kind of living with their new status as well. But the sort of things that PLP has been doing and continues to do is provide second tier advice to frontline organizations. So the idea is that if you're assisting an individual who's got a particularly complex query or just one that you think that you'd want a second opinion on, then we're very happy to take a look at that, and we do have funding to provide that sort of support. We've also taken on cases for individuals who want to bring public law challenges to various elements of the EUSS, and we continue to do that. And then we've also acted for a number of excellent organisations, including a number that are also on this call, who sought to challenge various elements of the EUSS, so both the scheme itself and the status underneath it. And while a lot of those were brought before the 30th of June 2021 deadline, and so unfortunately were judged by the courts to be premature, I think everyone will agree that they did have an impact and did see real change. So just in terms of what PLP is doing now, and some of you have, I know from the names here, that some of you have been in touch, but certainly some of you haven't, is that we're willing to provide kind of second tier advice and support. And that can be pretty broad, and we're pretty open to working out how best we can support you. So if you come to us with an issue, we can have a talk about how we might be able to support. But to give you an idea of the type of things that we have done, we do provide kind of written and often very detailed written advice that you can then digest and decide how best to advise your client based on that and maybe what steps to take. We can, in certain circumstances, assist with drafting representation. So it might be that you've got a particularly complex application and you think that it's going to need potentially some quite detailed legal submissions to go behind it. So we could help with that. We're also happy to help with the administrative review stage or perhaps even the appeal stage. So if you needed assistance with drafting grounds of appeal, we might be able to help with that. We're also just very happy to have a discussion about the merits of pursuing particular avenues, of pursuing particular revenues. So we'd be happy to give a second opinion on, kind of give a merits assessment as well. And finally, we're often asked to kind of advise on case strategy generally. We've advised on whether people, what remedy to push for. So should an individual be looking to seek an administrative review or go straight to appeal? We've provided some advice on changes to guidance. And then oftentimes it's just a matter of us assisting advisors in having a look at the very complex way that the Appendix EU is framed and just trying to work out what the correct interpretation might be. So we're kind of very happy to deal with any sorts of different queries. And then, as I said, we're also very happy to talk about public law or system issues that you're coming across, whether it's in applying to the EUSS, the decisions that you're getting back, or in how your clients are engaging with their status and with the process on a daily basis. And I think that because PLP itself we don't make EUSS applications, we don't act for clients in doing that, it is really valuable if we can have a chat or an email exchange about what you are seeing, because then together we could work out potentially if there are wider issues that could be something that could be challenged in the courts potentially. So we're very, very happy to have those sort of discussions, and in appropriate circumstances we could take on individual client referrals as well. So that might be an option. Again, to give you, at the moment we are dealing a lot with with them, people telling us about lots of delays and clients that are often in very dire circumstances, waiting for a certificate of application or waiting for a decision that, currently they have no recourse to public funds, and if they get that settled status decision, they suddenly will. We're certainly, we'd be happy to talk to you about those and see whether there might be merit in your client looking to at least send a PAP on that, and that might be something that we can assist with. The other big thing that PLP is interested in, and that we're actually doing some research on at the same time as, I guess, having a casework interest in it, is the issue with digital only status, which I'm sure everybody on this call will be intimately aware of. But I just wanted to flag that PLP, and obviously along with the 3 million who we know is doing continuously doing brilliant work on this. But a colleague of mine who's a research fellow at PLP is currently doing some research on the difficulties that people are facing using the View Improve system. So she's really interested to talk to organizations that are finding that their clients are having difficulties. And I guess in particular, organizations that maybe represent or kind of come into contact with people who we know will be digitally excluded. So the kind of very predictable categories of people who are elderly, people who are kind of from the Roma community, as well as people who have, disability or are differently abled in some way, that mean that they will find the system inherently more difficult. So if you, the email address that I'll drop in, if you do think that you could kind of assist from a research point of view, or have clients who you have in mind who you know are facing difficulties, we'd certainly be really interested to talk to you about that and to find out about their experiences. In addition, and as the 3 million have done a brilliant job on this with their reported tool, we are interested to hear about just the general kind of complexities of the system and the technical issues or the kind of things that happen that don't make sense. So we've heard of just kind of, reports of people who are finding that they go and look at their status and their status is missing, or they're going and finding out that they have, recently applied for settled status and they're only they're seeing the wrong type of status that comes up. And I think for that, we'd again be really interested to find out whether there's particular nationalities that are more likely to be impacted by this, or if there's particular types of errors that people are finding. So I guess if you've yourself have come across clients who are having general difficulties, that is definitely something that PLP is interested in from a research perspective, and then possibly down the line with a view to seeing what we all could do to get a challenge off the ground again to this particular thing, because unfortunately we aren't having too much luck in the political sphere at the moment.